Intermediate group, we begin with reading stepwise melodies. Melodia is a book that I used when I was in school, and I still find it to be the best tool for teaching sight singing. We use solfeggio because it is a valuable tool for helping a child differentiate between pitches. There are two methods of teaching solfeggio. Both are effective. One method is referred to as fixed do. In this method, the note C is always do, D is always re, E is mi, F is fa, G is so, A is la, and B is T. The other method of solfeggio is referred to as movable do, in which do is the tonic of whatever key you are in. For instance, in the key of C, the note C is do. In the key of F, F is do. Other systems of teaching sight singing include the number system, where the tonic or first note of the scale is 1, and the letter system, where the student sings the note names. I have found that the child who learns to read music by the use of syllables, numbers, or note names will be more exact in her placement of pitches than the child who has learned to read using a single syllable, such as la for all pitches. We begin with Lesson 1 each week and repeat until they are very comfortable with the material. Again, as with the beginners, I have the whole group sing together, then each individual sings an exercise alone. The singing alone is important because it is very easy for the group to rely on one or two stronger individuals, and some never learn to read on their own. Along with the sight singing, the intermediate group rehearsals also include what we call boot camp basic training. This involves basic training in projection, posture, range, mouth formation, breath control, and diction. To help the children learn to project their voices, we give them a target spot in the room to which they must aim their sound. This can be a clock or picture on the back wall of the room. At times, I conduct from a distance and ask them to fill the room with their voices. Projecting on one pitch can be difficult and may take a bit of practice. Some children will need help in distinguishing between yelling and projecting. Number 2, posture. Posture must be correct from the feet up to the head. Feet should be a little bit apart. Knees straight, but not locked. Buttocks should be in. Ribs high and shoulders down. The chin should be parallel to the floor, and mouth in a good drop-jawed position. Very important also are the eyes, which must be open and expressive and full of sparkle. It is the eyes of the singer that will captivate the listeners. For range, a D above middle C to a D an octave higher is a good goal for performance range. Some time should be spent in each rehearsal extending the group's overall range. Go beyond the good-sounding range and stretch them both high and low. Each week you should hear some progress. I stretch their voices high to start, then have them relax their voices at the end of the stretching time by seeing how low they can sing. Most of my advanced group can sing from 3 E's above middle C to the D below middle C. Of course, their optimal sound does not reach that far. Good mouth formation means a dropped jaw and a north-south rather than an east-west position of their mouth. Using a visual, such as a colorful rubber band or a simple tennis ball with a slit for the mouth, demonstrates to the children in a fun way the proper way to hold their mouths while singing. I try to keep one of these visuals on me to use just before the group performs. The audience does not see it, but the children do. It brings a smile to their faces and reminds them of some of what we have gone over in rehearsal. Breath control, proper inhalation, phrasing habits, all these are taught at this stage. One way to help the group develop stronger breath control is to string together different colored ribbons and have the children hold a tone while you pull the ribbons past them. Each week, your group should be able to sing past a new color. Most of our diction is learned alongside a piece that we are working on at the time. It is important as a leader to sit back at times during a rehearsal and see if you really can understand the words that the children are singing. Although a beautiful vocal sound can have a ministry of its own, most often the words are the focus of our intent. Dr. Seuss's Fox and Socks can also be a fun tool for working with diction, as can other tongue twisters. A song sung in a foreign language provides an opportunity for children to sing more rounded vowel sounds than they are accustomed to singing in their own language. In addition to learning to read stepwise melodies and going through the basic training boot camp, the intermediate group also works on unison singing and canon or simple 2-part pieces. It is not hard to find cute songs for kids. It is hard to find songs that really fit your group. For an intermediate group, you need to make sure the range of the music is within your group's ability and is high enough to require the children to use their head voices. I also like the song to contain a fair amount of sections that the group can read on their own. I try to have 2 pieces per semester that the intermediate group can totally read on their own. In the interest of time, other pieces are taught by rote, with the students reading stepwise pitches as they come across them. Appropriateness to performance setting and meaningful lyrics are also important things to take into consideration. When I begin a new piece with an intermediate group, I begin by having them read the rhythm.
Ta-ti-ta, ta-ti-ya.
We then move on to the pitches.
Good. Let's try to put some words to that.
And lastly, add the words. This is all done without the use of the piano. Accompaniment should be the last thing that is added. I let them struggle a bit through the pitches and rhythm rather than feed it to them. As the leader, you need to look ahead for the difficult passages. Use these as opportunities for teaching new material, such as intervals or rhythms or accidentals. A piano and piano player are not prerequisites to having a good singing company. Singing a cappella helps develop a group sense of pitch and unison sound, both of which are very valuable assets to have. Taped accompaniments often mean trouble. Besides the possible technical difficulties, taped accompaniments usually come with too much distraction for a group of young singers. For example, a child who has learned one part and is then put next to someone singing a different part will quickly become confused and have trouble holding their own pitch. Their voices begin sliding around trying to find their place, and the result can be quite interesting. Imagine now not adding only a harmony part, but a flute part, a violin part, percussion, and whatever else the tapes come with. You can see how distracting this could be for a child. When you feel your group is ready for experimenting with harmony, I would suggest beginning with simple rounds or canons. These allow the children to hold on to their own parts more easily. I remember the first time one of our groups sang canon in rehearsal. They were so thrilled to be singing in parts. We used the canon book, Canons and Songs of Blessings, and began with Sweetly Sings the Donkey. We then graduated to more sacred canons, such as Hodie Christus by Michael Bedford, and some of Natalie Sleeth's pieces. Natalie Sleeth is a master at writing canons that sound very impressive to the congregation, but are really quite simple for the children to sing. The Melodia books also have two-part sight singing sections. These provide extra practice for the group in learning harmony. When a child is reading stepwise pitches and simple intervals well, and when she can hold a part alongside harmony, she is ready for the next level group. Even if the word Ianfly is not familiar to you, I am sure that its lingo is. I am not finished learning yet. Ianfly is the group that children graduate into from the intermediates. Here, they will expand their reading skills, learning more involved rhythm patterns, intervals,
It's octave, right? Okay. Sing it for me. Yeah, perfect. Do it again. Good. Right there. Ready and.
accidentals, major and minor keys, modulation, and everything else that comes with reading music.
What is modulation? What does the word mean? Modulate.
To change.
To change. Good. So what would modulation be in music? Change the keys. Sure. That's exactly what it is.
They will gain an understanding of more mature lyrics. Their range will expand, and their diction will be clearer. They will learn to project their sound more fully and sing with more personal expression. Their individual tonal quality will develop. And they will learn to read and sing 2-, 3-, and 4-part harmonies.
Second measure. He gilds the golden glow in sunset sky. Look at the alto part. And he gilds the golden glow. What is that first note? Very low note. G, okay? Which is what in the key of E flat? Is it me?
Yes.
Yes.
So, do, so, mi, so, do, so, do, re.
Good. And sing it with the words now. Ready?
He gilds the golden glow on sunset sky.
Good. And I'm glad you put in that dotted eighth note. It's excellent. Okay, and look at the melody line. Starts on what? On he gilds. Do. Okay. And let's same thing with the words. Do, he. Ready? Try it. Melody line.
He gilds the golden glow on sunset sky.
Excellent. Let's put the two parts together.
He gilds the golden glow on sunset sky.
Good.
Joy Webb put out years ago a marvelous children's songbook entitled Songs of Joy. It is a wonderful tool for getting children well on their way to part singing. By the time a child is ready for part singing, their do-mi-sol intervals should already be strong. Most of Joy Webb's harmonies are based on these intervals, and so are very easy for the children to read and hear. When a group begins a piece, such as Kumbaya, I ask the entire group to sight sing each part. I then divide the group into 3 parts and have them sing the bottom part first. I then rehearse the middle part and lastly the top. Unison sound is still very important even in this group. It continues to train their ears and focus in on their sound. The simplicity of a unison a cappella piece still speaks volumes to the listener, as well as to the hearts of the singers. Solo work by the members of this group allows concentration to be given to an individual's areas of needs as well as strengths. It also provides an opportunity for building a sense of respect and support among the members. Conducting children during a performance demands more from the leader than just beating out the time. A conductor of children must remind them of expression, communication, dynamics, phrasing, diction, words, and many of the other things you have gone over during the many hours of rehearsals. A group of children who have memorized their words and parts will be ready to give all their focus to you and the congregation. One of the most important things that the children in this group will learn is communication through song. We want the audience to receive the message, the ministry that we are bringing to them. If it is a prayer song that the group is performing, their eyes and voices are aimed at what we call our Jesus spot. This can be any spot in the back of the chapel. As each child looks and sings toward this spot, the congregation will sense that the prayer is truly directed and that the group senses the presence of Christ. This can be a wonderful experience both for the singers and the congregation. For songs that are testimony songs, I encourage the kids to sing to the congregation using lots of eye contact. We pray that God will lay on their lips one smile or direct their eyes to look at a particular person during the phrase that God needs that person to hear. And perhaps it will be those very words that the child sings which will open that person's heart to God's message. I want the children to learn to read the faces of our congregation, even before they get up to sing. Who seems to need our message this morning? Who needs lifting up? Minister while you sing to that person. It is so important that the children be used as a meaningful part of worship. Children tire very quickly of being cute. Children need to feel needed, respected, that they are an integral part of the corporate worship. Obtain well in advance the topic schedule of your services so that the pieces you choose are not only appropriate, but are necessary to the service. Simplicity and quietness always seem to speak loudest. Simple prayer choruses sung a cappella at the beginning of a service can be very effective in settling the congregation and bringing people's hearts into focus. Lastly, it is essential to pray as a group and individually. God wants to use our children as vessels for His Spirit to minister through. They need to learn, and we need to be reminded, that God is the source of the ministering we are providing. Pray about the piece you are going to perform. Pray with a child who might be nervous about the performance. Pray together the morning of the performance. And then take a moment for silent prayer just before the piano begins to play the introduction. Father, it will be good for us, healing and refreshing, to give thanks to you on this morning. As we sing, clear our hearts and those of our congregation, and enable us to think on what is pure and lovely, what is good and excellent and praiseworthy. Father, use our song as a time for our spirits to soar in realizing how great you really are. You alone, God, are worthy of our praise.